You're listening to Productivity Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. She is passionate, direct, and sometimes a little sarcastic, but always gives you what you need to succeed in business. Now, here's your host, Amber De La Garza, the Productivity Specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to Productivity Straight Talk. Today is episode 45, Lessons Learned from Building My Own Team. If you are an entrepreneur who wants to take consistent, massive, focused action in your business and life, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. My goal today is to walk you through the pivotal points of my hiring journey so that you can obtain valuable insights to utilize when building your own team. What you will discover in today's episode is how building my own team enabled me to grow bigger and grow faster. What you should outsource and how, what constitutes a good hire, the hiring mistakes too many entrepreneurs make, and so much more. So let's dive right in and get straight to it. No matter your budget, having one means you have limitations on your hiring abilities. You can't outsource everything, so you have to be smart with what you outsource and who you outsource it to. Hiring for certain tasks that are not your strengths, hire for certain skill sets that complement your weaknesses. For example, you will still find that I reconcile my own bookkeeping. Now you'd think, why does she do that? Well, for me, it's super easy because most of it is automated through QuickBooks, and I'm just double checking and then printing off my profit and loss statements each month. But you won't find me doing my own writing because that is my weakness. That is not where my strength is at. And you'll hear more about what I've chosen to outsource versus keep in my responsibilities of growing the business. I am piggybacking on my most recent podcast with episode guest, Shelly Warren. That's episode number 44. And if you haven't listened to it, I highly recommend you listen to it when you're done with this one. I want to talk about my hiring journey and how I've leveraged my hires, talents, and skill sets to scale my business. My hiring journey. Well, first, it may sound a little obvious, but my first hire was myself. I started and ran my business part-time for the first 2 years. I really started with 2 days a week that I had my son in preschool when he was 2 years old. And then once I started getting traction and building my book of business, it went to 3 days and then it rapidly went to 5 days. And so during that first 2 years of my business, I really didn't have a need to make any additional hires. And honestly, really not a need to be spending money on additional hires. But I really realized early on that one of my weaknesses was writing. And at that time, the blogging world was a storm. And if anyone was going to make any kind of success in the online world, it was all about blogging. So when I had determined that I needed to make my next hire in my business, it was going to be with somebody that could run alongside me and write and learn my voice. And I'll talk more about that in a second, but I can't skip over my very second hire. Now, this may come as a surprise, but my very first true hire outside of myself was a house cleaner that came twice a month. And I was able to see that I needed to find leverage with my time. As I was working out of the home more often, I realized I did not want to be spending my nights and weekends cleaning my home. And for me, I really enjoy a clean home. So the first profits that I was ready to invest in hiring somebody else was to buy back literally probably 8 hours every 2 weeks. And for me, that was found through a housekeeper. And to this day, I still have the same housekeeper. I think she's phenomenal. And I really don't think that I will ever, and I don't want to jinx it, go back to cleaning my home at the expense of having hours in my business or time with my family. Wherever you're at in your business, you may be looking to make the next hire and you're scaling far beyond a small team, but maybe making it a larger team, or you haven't hired at all. And if you're looking to make that first hire, the first question you need to ask yourself is, do you need more leverage in your business or do you need more leverage at home? And the answer that was true for me was that I needed more leverage at home. Okay, so then to my third hire, which is truly my second hire in my business, and that is my assistant, Crystal. Now, Crystal came to me because I was talking to a client of mine and I told her I'm ready to hire a part-time assistant and I'm really looking for someone that can grow with me as my business is growing. And long and behold, she had a long-time assistant, executive assistant that had been working with her 3 days a week, and Crystal was looking to add 2 days a week of work. So I was referred to her, I did the interview, and I still remember to this day that one of my primary questions to Crystal was, so what are your thoughts about writing and what is your experience with writing? And her answers really knocked my socks off. And you fast forward, which I'll go into a little more detail at the end of this episode about what my team looks like now. She is seriously not my assistant anymore. She is my content manager. She is my voice, and I collaborate with her to create content all of the time because she is so good at taking what I want and what's going on in my head and creating those into words. She also does other administrative tasks for me as well. And I will get into what everybody on my team does again. But now, just to clarify, my second hire in my business was an administrative assistant. She currently works 100% remotely at about 15 hours a week. But when she first started, she lived in my town, which was Las Vegas, and she did 8 hours in the office and then did the rest of the hours remotely. And over the years, we've been through different seasons of my business and different seasons of her life. And since she's had 2 babies and she moved across country, that role has been able to adapt so that she stays in her zone of genius, but then can still collaborate from far away. One of the things that we do that is unique, well, that I think is unique, is that we were able to replicate what it was like having her come into my office each week. Now, if you could just imagine this in the world of blogging, where I have written, I'll say we have written a ton of content. All of my content was written by pacing behind her in my office. I need to move my body. I need to walk and talk it out. That's just what's natural to me. And so when she was going to go virtual, I was really, really concerned about well, what is this going to look like? How do I get this content out of me and conveyed to you so that we can get content out into the world? And so what we decided is that every week we have a 2-hour meeting on Zoom, which is all about either strategy, me verbalizing tasks or clarifying where I'm going and the projects I needed to work on. But most importantly is that we use about half of that time for me to verbally create content to her. So I go over ideas that I want for podcasts, ideas that I want in articles. I give her all my points, and then we record that part of the Zoom call so that she can go back to it and write it out as if I had just wrote it myself. And so that's how we've been able to replicate an in-person assistant to going more virtual. Alrighty, then that takes us to the 4 years that her and I have been together and before I started making additional hires. During this time, I hired all random project-based independent contractors. So I didn't bring anybody on for a set amount of hours or a retainer. What I would do is I would identify weaknesses or areas in which it is not my zone of genius and hire that out. For example, I redid my branding at the end of 2016, beginning of 2017. And so I aligned myself with a branding expert. I hire out my photography, my website. I got a business coach. So you see, none of these things were reoccurring per hours bringing on staff, but I certainly was not taking these projects on. Now, I'm sure there was multiple other projects that I hired out for. And one of the places that I have found with good success is Upwork.com. Now, you may have heard of Fiverr. I have not had a good experience hiring somebody that is as skilled that I need on that platform, although I've heard it's possible. I prefer Upwork.com. Okay, so now I hired myself. Then I hired a house cleaner to leverage my time in my home. Then I hired my amazing assistant that turned into my content manager. I kept my expenses low and did not take on the consistent responsibility of having additional payroll by outsourcing specific projects to independent contractors. Now, when I was rolling into 2018, my word for 2018 was scaling. And I had determined that at the end of Q3, beginning of Q4 of 2017. And as I defined what scaling meant to me, it was twofold. One was automation, and two was scaling through hires of other people. All right. So I chose to do my first hire, which I consider kind of like a hire, was purchasing Entreport. Now, Entreport is a CRM program, marketing automation program. It does your email management. It can automate just about any business system on the back end. And I purchased that and started building that out in October of 2017 to then launch it in January of 2018. And I considered this a hire because it's a commitment per month that I'm paying for it. And once I'm investing in it, like you invest in others, you have to train them up. You have to train the system and program it to do and be what you need it to be for your business. And I knew that that was going to be both a huge time and money commitment, just like hiring an employee. So when I did that, and after I researched and I did all my homework and chose Entreport, I decided I'm going to invest in Entreport as I would invest onboarding another employee. At the time, my husband, as many of you know listening to the podcast, has been home. And that was all planned. And we wanted him home kind of like a sabbatical. And he is really good with words and technology. And I just thought, oh my gosh, what if I trained him to be my Entreport person? Let me explain this to you because you may fall into this too. Getting Entreport up and going and programmed and automated, that is like so fun for me. I really, really enjoy doing that. The problem with that is we can't always just do the things we enjoy because I'm not directly making money for all the time I'm investing in building out Entreport. So I learned very early on that it was not going to be me. And so if it wasn't going to be me, and I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to hire somebody else to build it out for me, I thought, okay, let me get training from my husband and then he can do it. Well, I was already nervous about the whole working with your spouse kind of thing. And so it was definitely a navigation process. And because he's not in my world, because he doesn't understand the online world, because he doesn't have as much business experience, he wasn't able to run alongside me at the pace that I needed to run. And he pretty much told me that. So we decided that he was not going to be that person. So I went and seeked out another hire of a consultant. Now, I did interview a few people, and I had found one lady that I thought was going to be really good. And it was pretty early on that I realized that she just didn't have the experience to run quick enough with me in this process. And in fact, at the end of our time together, she had mentioned that she was really stressed out and kind of overwhelmed and that she had just spent 5 hours on the phone with support help trying to work through an issue with Entreport. And it was in that time that I realized that I am asking her to do things that are past her expertise or capabilities. Now, on all other accounts, she's great. It just wasn't a fit for where I was at in my business. So we parted ways and I went on this journey of hiring or rather interviewing other Entreport consultants. And I interviewed, well, for me, I felt like it was quite a few. One, because I was on so many websites and emailing people and asking what their approach is and how they work with their clients. And then I dwindled it down and I started doing interviews. And it was on my 5th or 6th interview that I met the lady that I hired now. And it was on that interview that I literally didn't let her finish the interview before I said, so how do I buy you? How do we work together? Now, ironically, she was the highest paid person, or she quoted me the highest amount per hour than all the others that I had interviewed up until this point. And when I say quite a bit, I mean quite a bit. And so I had to ask myself, am I really willing to commit that price per hour for a consultant? And my answer was yes, because she didn't know exactly what I was looking for. But in her interview, she was saying all the right things. She was telling me that the customer experience is her number one priority, that she has so much experience with other business owners that are in a similar market, meaning they're coaches, they're online trainers, they're speakers. And so she's got this wealth of knowledge that I'm tapping into, that when I ask her to do something, I don't need to explain it, I felt that we could be talking to each other in shorthand. So long story short, I hired her, and she is at this point on for 2 to 4 hours a week on building out the back end of my system. And with her, I also meet with her once a week for 1 hour. And you'll notice, and I'll go into a little more detail later, is that I am a very verbal person and I want to see your face. And if Zoom is the way we're going to do it, it works perfectly, because really, I run almost my entire business off of Zoom. I meet all of my clients on Zoom, almost all of them. I meet all of my potential clients on Zoom. So why not have my staff and employees and team on Zoom? My current Entreport hire, we've been working together for about 3 weeks. And during the first few weeks of any hire, you're getting to know each other. You're getting to know your communication style. You're getting to clarify on expectations, even though we were both very, very clear in the interview process what I was looking for and how she worked and vice versa. The beginning of any relationship that you're building, it's going to take time to work out the kinks and bumpy roads. And this was the very same. So it's kind of expected. In fact, one of my recommendations that I'm going to give you that was actually given to me is to try out everyone for 2 weeks, to have a 2-week trial period where you get back together in 2 weeks and you say what's working for you, what's not working for you, or perhaps it's not working at all and you guys just part ways. This isn't a permanent hire, and so it takes the stress off of making sure it's the absolute right hire. You, at that point, need to determine, are you willing to invest in additional communication, additional time, additional training to get that person up and going to what your expectations are for that role? And for me, I'm always about investing in the person, even probably to a fault. But once I've chosen somebody, and I generally choose based on characteristic traits first and foremost, and then skill set traits. And here's why. Their characteristic traits cannot be learned. They either are or they're not. And what I mean by that is, are you working with somebody that is of integrity with their word? Do they take pride in their work? Do they have follow through? Are they a team player? These are all things that are so important to me when I'm making a hire, but those are not things that can be taught. Now, the skill set side, well, for Entreport, I am hiring for a very, very niche specific skill set. But let's say I was making a hire for a general executive assistant, and there was some task that I needed her to do, but she had no experience in. If she had all those characteristic traits and she was a great addition to the team, I would definitely be investing in them because I saw the character traits that were worth investing in. Okay, so next on my hiring journey was my almost hire. I was looking to hire a part-time virtual assistant / client manager. And I had in my head that I really needed someone that could take the customer experience and customer service to the next level for my clients. And I just kind of had that rattling back in my head. I hadn't really clearly defined the role yet. I didn't think I was quite ready to hire for it. But my doctor, which you will meet very soon on an episode, she's a great doctor, but she's virtual. And she lives in Washington State, and I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. And we were on our consultation, and she'd say, yeah, well, I'll get your blood work ordered, and we'll get you another appointment scheduled, and we'll get that right out to you. I'll have Erica do that. Erica will be in contact with you. And she kept referring to Erica. And I was like, okay. So I hang up with her, and mind you, she's in Washington State. I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I leave my office to go get a cup of coffee, and I come back and I have a voicemail. And I have a voicemail from Erica to schedule my next appointment and to confirm my insurance. And then I have an email from Erica with my blood work labs. And I was like, oh my gosh. That was my first thought. And then I got Erica on the phone, and Erica was so friendly, and she was quick, and she had great customer service, and you could just tell that she was excited to do what she does. And I thought, oh my gosh, she would be perfect. Like, this is the experience that I want my clients to experience. So I asked her, I said, hey, are you a virtual assistant? She said, yes. I said, great. Do you work just in the medical field? And she said, no, I don't work in the medical field at all, but I do help with Dr. Davidson. And I said, okay, great, wonderful. Okay, so then we're done with the call and I decide to email my doctor because I am not about poaching other people's employees and I didn't know how that would be taken if I had just spoken with her. So I asked my doctor, I said, hey, Erica is amazing, and I am looking for someone a few hours a week to do client management. And I was wondering if you minded if I approached her. And if you're not comfortable with that, no worries. I thought I'd run it by you. Well, she was absolutely open to it, but I guess Erica was really, really pregnant and due to have a baby within the next 2 weeks. So she wasn't really looking to add any additional hours. But I want to ask you, are you having your eyes and ears open for opportunity to hire people around you? Do not poach. That's not what I'm asking for. But in this world, when you meet somebody that is exceptional at their job, could they be exceptional for you? And at the very least, the gift that Erica gave me was an experience that I will never settle less for in my business. You see, I didn't think that I was that clear about what I wanted in this client manager role, but after experiencing it with Erica, I know that when I do make this hire, it'll be nothing less than what Erica had delivered to me. So all in all, just because I was open to the possibilities and thinking about how was that interaction perceived from the client's perspective, which is me, how do I want that to also be in my business? Okay, so now we are to my latest hire. For those of you that have been following, you know that my husband's been home for the last about 13 or 14 months. And recently, he had an opportunity to work here in Las Vegas, which was the ultimate goal, that he did not need to travel any longer. So he took the job. And when he took the job, there's obviously a huge void in our personal life, meaning my husband did all things while he was at home. He helped with the cooking and he did the laundry and he picked our son up and took him to jujitsu. There was a big portion of items that I had once done while also running my business that he was able to help me in the last year. And now with us both at work, who was going to do it? So we started talking about what our needs were. What would it be if we could have X, Y, and Z done? And we went back and forth and we determined that the economics make sense, that I could hire somebody at a much lower rate per hour than he and I are making working. So neither one of us could be home at 3:30 when our son is out of school. Where do we go from there? Well, because Natalie Ekdahl of Biz Chicks had put a little seed in my head about a fairy godmother. Now, let me explain this. She's got a fairy godmother that she hired that helps her with things around the house, and her role is a little bit different. But I thought, what would it be like if I had a fairy godmother / nanny in our home for 3 hours a day? And so that is when I created the job description. And the job description wish list was things like pick up the groceries, take our son to jiu-jitsu, clean the counters, do the dishes, make dinner, vacuum a couple times a week. And as you can tell, these were all home tasks and chores that I thought, wouldn't it be nice if I came home from the end of the day and all things were taken care of? So I just put a leap of faith and put a job description together. And I asked for someone that was exceptional with children, loved dogs since I have a German Shepherd, enjoyed cooking, and didn't mind doing a little light housework like laundry and dishes and cleaning off counters and a little bit of vacuuming. And long behold, within a couple days, I had several potential people for interviews. Now, let me just take a break for a second, because as you're listening to this, you're probably like, either one, oh my gosh, this sounds amazing, or two, why would she do this? This doesn't make sense. And honestly, I would have been the latter some time ago. So let me explain to you a little bit about my backstory. I do not want to paint a rosy picture and tell you that, oh yeah, I make X amount of money and I'm hiring a fairy godmother and a nanny and a housekeeper and all of these things to find leverage in my business and in my home. I need to explain to you that I was raised cleaning homes with my mom. That's how we put food on the table. She would clean homes all day, pick me up from school, and I would clean homes with her into the night. I was raised in a 2-bedroom home with 1 bathroom for all of us and less than 900 square feet. I definitely did not live in this lifestyle that I'm currently living in. That is who I am. Just as much as who I am today is who I am. That little girl that grew up working her butt off, cleaning homes from a very young age, I'm still that person. But that previous person had a lot of mindset shit about hiring a housekeeper, asking for help. That I also had things going on in my head like, well, if I didn't cook dinner, what would my husband think? And what am I going to do with my time if my cooking is done and my son's picked up and jujitsu's done? Here's the deal. I needed to work through that because I'm on a journey of growing my business. And let me fast forward. Once we put the ad out, I had a conversation with my son, Eric. And I remember we were in the car and I let him know that we put an ad out for a nanny and I explained some of the things that she would be doing. And I told him, do you know that when mom comes home from work that we are rapidly doing homework, cooking dinner, getting laundry going, getting him ready for bed, and then the day starts over again? He's like, yes. I go, well, if I hire a nanny, what's going to happen is it's going to free mommy up and daddy of all of those other things. And then when we come home, you and I are going to have quality time where we could read a book, we could play, we can do whatever we want because all of those tasks and chores have been taken care of. So what do you think, Eric? And he's like, and she'll play with me too, meaning the nanny. And I said, yes. He's like, so both of you will play with me? I said, yes. He's like, sounds great. And so I really explained it to him in the most basic form, but I'm explaining it to you also. This was about buying back time. This was about freeing my energy up so that I can invest it in the things that matter most to me. I want to sit down and have dinner with my family every single night. I don't care if I'm the one cooking it. I don't care who's cooking it. Well, I do care. Actually, I'd rather have someone else cook it. But the point is that quality time isn't in the cooking for me. Like, I don't truly enjoy cooking, but my quality time is sitting around the table enjoying the meal. So I hired her and she comes in 4 days a week for 3 hours from 3:30 to 6:30. And she's on a schedule and she gets my son to practice and it's been really good. But it's been getting used to. She's learning our ways, we're learning her ways. And just as she had been with us for just under 2 weeks, she had a death in the family. So she had to leave town. And after the death in the family, she got a little sick. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because it's not all perfect. When you hire somebody, you're really investing in them. And so we decided, my husband and I, that we were not going to rehire for someone else, that we were going to let her go do whatever she needed to do out of town. She needed to get better and that we were going to back her because she's in our home supporting us. And I think that the least we can do is support her where she's at in her life right now. And so we actually did not do another hire and we're waiting for her to come back right now. Now, usually when I tell stories and experiences on the podcast, it is the end, right? Like the story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And in this case, since this is our newest hire and we're already just in the middle of it, I still wanted to let you know where we were at this time. And so while she's out right now getting better with her health, I think that she will come back. But if she doesn't, we're still going to be hiring for this position so that my husband and I can come home and be present and relax and not stress and just enjoy life. Now that I've shared with you some of my pivotal hires over the years in my business, I want to share with you some of my personal growth and journey. Now, I kind of teased it when I explained to you I had some mindset issues coming from really poverty and cleaning homes and working hard and making our living that way to then hiring housekeepers and nannies, fast forward into my adult life. There is so much mindset about letting go and asking for help. And for me, and I'm just sharing my experience, and this may not be your experience, I have a hell of a time asking for help. So much so that for many, many, many years of my marriage, I did not ask for help. You would not hear me say, hey, babe, I'm so tired. Can you help with dinner? Or after dinner, oh my gosh, can you help put the dishes away or fold the laundry? Once I had identified that there was something in my bucket of responsibilities to do in our home, I never asked for help. And I realized that if I can't ask for help in my own home, how am I going to grow and ask for help in my business? So I practiced. I practiced asking for help in all the little ways. Now, for you ladies that are listening, you'll totally understand this story. And for you guys, this may be a hint at you. You have to be direct with the people you're asking for help from, whether it be employees or your family members, your spouses, etc. Because me going to get a load of laundry out of the dryer and then putting it on the end of the bed with my husband sitting in the bed and telling him, I'm going to go put Eric to bed and I'll be back. There's no part of that said, hey, babe, can you fold the laundry that I just put on the bed while I go put the kid to sleep? See, there's a lot of assumptions there. It's not direct communication. And for some of us ladies, sometimes we think that the guys will just get the hint. They don't. They won't. And they don't, in my experience, get anything except for direct communication, which is, hey, babe, can you fold the laundry? I'm going to go put our son to bed so that when I come back, we both can relax. Now, that seems so obvious and it's direct and it's exactly how I communicate in my business. But why did I feel that putting hints out there was going to get the results I want? So perhaps your very first hire in your business or personal life is asking for help from those around you. Do you have children that can pick up some more chores around the house? Do you have a spouse that you can ask for them to take on some additional responsibilities as your business grows? I really want you to be thinking of where and when can you ask for help. Sometimes we can ask for help from our friends. Maybe they can carpool the kids one day and you carpool the next day. I want you to get creative in how you are going to ask for help. Clear communication with all of your hires is such a necessity. If you're wishy-washy with what you ask people to do, they're not going to understand what you want them to do, and they're not going to be able to give you what you want. You have to know what you want and be able to articulate that to them clearly, because nobody can read your mind, including our husbands, ladies. I think you understand what I'm talking about. Hiring is a means to grow your business. But it's also a personal development journey in which you must learn to discover what you need and what you want. Communicate effectively, lead, trust yourself and others, delegate activities that free up time to focus on your high-value activities, and realize that your highest priority activities might just be taking care of yourself or your family. It doesn't have to be all business all the time because you're spending the rest of your time running your business. I recently spoke at MGM Grand Hotel and Casino's sales end of the year event. And the theme for their event was collaboration and the power of collaboration. And that made me really think about entrepreneurship and collaboration. And I reflected and really got clear that entrepreneurs crave collaboration. That in fact, that is one of the main things that they miss going from employee to entrepreneurship. It can be difficult to build a team around you with the right synergy where everyone's working in their zone of genius on a project or towards a common goal. Having the right people on your team who complement your strengths and weaknesses will elevate your business as a whole. You have to pay for that collaboration, but it's an investment that is honestly priceless. And although the right hires can be priceless, they must also be within your budget. It's not like you're going to pay Bill Gates' recently unemployed assistant to come work for you at $100 an hour, no matter how amazing she is at administrative tasks. You have to hire within reason and within the confinements of your budget. As I have shared with you the hires in my business over the years, you might be thinking, she really hasn't made that many hires. Well, that is really true because I could have hired a lot last year. In fact, 6 months into last year, I had already quadrupled my income from the previous year. So why did I not hire? I needed to make sure that I had a sustainable revenue model. I took personal responsibility for the fact that I'm bringing someone on my team and it's going to be for the long haul. That person has a family and bills to pay, and I wasn't willing to take a chance until I could prove that I had that sustainable income to justify that expense for the long term. An employee is not just a membership or a product that you can cancel anytime. I decided that when I hire someone and expect them to invest in my business or in my family, I must first be willing to invest in them and have the funds to do so for at least 6 months. This is my own hiring preference. I believe that some people are just too damn eager to hire out for every last penny they have in their business. Maybe it's just the fact that they feel like they have another notch on their belt, or at least that's what it feels like to me. But if you spend all of your money on help and outsourcing and delegating and not on running your business or keeping it as profits, bye-bye business. And you have heard me talking about profit first. Your business has to serve you first. Because did you hear the subtleness of what I said as I opened up this episode? My first hire was me. And why would I stop paying me so that I can hire other people? I needed to ensure that my business could still afford to pay me at my salary while I hired others. So who does what within my business right now in this moment? Everything in my business falls into 4 buckets. And you may have heard me talk about these 4 buckets. And if you haven't, that means you haven't listened to episode 35, productivity plus profitability and why your business needs both to succeed. And in that episode, I share with you the 4 buckets of what I believe every business has: a marketing/visibility bucket, a sales bucket, servicing your clients bucket, and the other bucket. Let's dive into each of these buckets and see how my team supports me. The first bucket is the marketing bucket. Within my marketing bucket, I personally create the content, record the content, and approve the content. I do all the podcast interviews. I speak regularly. I strategize big picture about my marketing strategy. I plan and I ensure that my team executes on all the rest. So what does that mean? Podcast images, posting our blogs to WordPress, uploading our podcast to our podcasting host, syndicating it everywhere you can listen to podcasts, you name it. All other tasks are taken care of by my team. And right now, that's specifically Crystal handles everything other than Danny with Emerald Productions does my audio editing. So that's my marketing bucket at this point. Next is my sales. So the sales bucket is meeting with potential clients, doing consultations, discovery calls, and my success breakthrough sessions. At this point, I am the only one doing sales in my business. The third bucket is servicing my clients. And again, at this point, I am the only one that is servicing my clients through one-on-one coaching, group coaching, and masterminds. Lastly, the fourth bucket is the other bucket. All of the other things that it takes to run your business, like administrative tasks and website development. And honestly, the list can go on. And this episode is getting kind of long, so I will let you fill in the blanks here. But anything that is not marketing or sales or servicing your client falls in the other bucket. And nearly all of those tasks are also delegated out at this point. So Crystal is my content manager / assistant, and she does the writing, the images, the scheduling, the social media posting, administrative tasks, and she's running about 65 hours a month. The next person is, again, my audio editor, and he is on a retainer per month to edit all of my podcasts. Then I also have a couple other people that I keep on call as needed. And this is a gentleman that I hired through Upwork that handles all of my Thrive theme website needs. And then I also have someone else. Her name is Meredith, and she does all my website maintenance. She's kind of like my website manager. She does security, plugins, hosting, all of that good stuff. And I pay her also on a quarterly basis. I have my Entrepreneur consultant that's 2 to 4 hours a week. And then I will continue to be hiring on from this point forward. So what does that look like? Like, where's my business going and what do I need to grow my business at this point? What do I see that I need to go to the next level? The client manager position. So my almost hire, I believe, is going to be my next hire. And that's going to be all about client interaction, onboarding clients, customer service, confirming appointments, getting people things that are promised after meetings, etc. I also want to hire a copywriter to do my sales copy. So this would be any kind of new product or service that I come out with. I think that there is definitely a specific skill set in the idea of having sales copy. Next is a Facebook ads manager. To scale my business to that next level and to get to a larger and larger audience, I definitely see that I need that specialized person on my team to handle Facebook ads. Next, I also see getting someone to possibly help me with sales because my calendar is quite full of potential clients that are wanting to have more information, talk to me about the services that I have, or are scheduling success breakthrough sessions. And there will be a point very, very soon that I'm going to have to hire someone to replicate me in that phase of my business so that I can solely focus on ensuring my voice is what's behind all content going out and continue that, but then also be the person that's actually servicing the clients. And so for me, that middle bucket might be where I can find some additional leverage. Okay. Now, I think this was a much longer episode than I anticipated, and I really appreciate you sticking it out with me. I hope that you could learn from some of my openness of it's not always an easy path to growing your business, but I always tell this example or give this metaphor to my clients. There is a point in your business that you are on the edge of the river, and you can either stay where you're at and you kind of plateau in your business because you can't go to that next level without people. But you try. And so you try to swim across the river and it's a very, very, very strong current. And you feel like you're drowning and you feel like you're overwhelmed and you're stressed out and you're not sure if you're ever going to break through to the other side. But just on the other side of the bank is that freedom and that growth and that exponential growth of hiring people to help you. So where are you at? Are you on the first side of the river where you're like, oh my gosh, it would be so amazing to leverage through other people, but I'm scared? Are you stuck in the middle where you just put your toes in and you just figured you know you need it, but you're not sure, you're not really committed to delegating things out? Or have you done the work that it takes to invest in other people and you get to the other side of the river? No matter where you're at in this metaphor, I have been to all three areas. And it's not the easiest journey, but it's a journey that's worthwhile because if you're really looking at wanting to empower more people, serve more people, show up in a bigger way in your business, you cannot and will not be able to do it by yourself. Okay, so why I have loved having you listen to this episode of Productivity Straight Talk, I need to be straight with you. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. So based on what you learned, what will you take action on today? Now, I just shared this metaphor with you. I want you to imagine, where are you at? Are you right on the edge and you know that you're plateaued, you can't grow any further? Then what's that next right step? What is that next right hire for you? And remember, I never said I had someone full-time. And I still don't have anybody full-time. And my business is pretty big right now. So don't think it's an all or nothing. Look at what your weaknesses are. Hire for your weaknesses so that that person can complement you. And together you'll grow your business exponentially. I'm not sure where you're at. And I trust that in this episode, you've heard something that just resonated with you, that it hit home and you're like, yes, that is what I need to do. Don't stop there. Take the action. Take the action to get the results that you desire in your business and life. Now, I would love for you to share with me on the inside of our Productivity Straight Talk community. What action are you going to take based on this episode? Who is your next hire? Do you need to replace somebody you currently have? What does that look like for you? Please share with us inside our private Facebook community by joining us at productivitycommunity.com. Now, we have hundreds of you people out there listening that are already in our community. And if that is you, jump in and tell us what you are committed to doing. Just post it. I can't wait to hear what you guys are up to based on this episode. And if you've enjoyed this episode, I would be so grateful if you would share it with another entrepreneur who you feel would find it valuable. Do you have an entrepreneurial friend that feels stuck, that their business has plateaued, they feel stressed out or overwhelmed? Share one of your favorite episodes with them and just give them the gift of less stress. Before we end, I just wanted to share with you a review that I got on iTunes regarding the podcast yesterday. This is from Fit Jamie. A smart and sophisticated podcast, straight and to the point without sugarcoating. Every episode has me rethinking how I do business and how I spend my time. A must listen. This podcast has become my Monday afternoon commute ritual. Keep up the great work, Amber. I cannot tell you how happy I was when I received this review. I look at them. I literally put so much time, energy, and heart into each of these episodes to ensure that they're value packed for you. And when I receive reviews like that, it keeps the energy going. It keeps the focus on being able to create additional content that resonates and helps each of you. So if you've had a similar experience or any good experience listening to Productivity Straight Talk, I would be honored if you would leave a review on iTunes. That does two things. One, I read every one of them and it puts a big, huge smile on my face. And two, it lets other people find out about the show because iTunes loves shows with reviews. And so they'll put it in front of more people. So you're really giving me a gift and I truly appreciate your time in doing so. And lastly, I want to open up my schedule for a few success breakthrough sessions. Now, these success breakthrough sessions, I would love for you to put in the comments when you apply that you want to talk about growing your team. Do I have any advice that would be tailored exactly for you and where you're at in your business? Then let's talk about what that looks like on you growing your team. You can apply by going to successbreakthroughsession.com. Now, honestly, this is a gift to you from me. It's 30 minutes of my time where we are going to strategize about your business and where you're at so that you can reclaim 5 hours a week to invest in your high priority items. And whether that be going after your goals in a big way or getting sleep, that is 5 hours that you have now reclaimed to invest in whatever you feel is most important. Go to successbreakthroughsession.com and apply today. And until next time, have a productive week.